Next chapter is chapter 14, diseases of the genitourinary system, 15 new codes, 1 deleted. We have some new codes in the acute nephritic syndrome with dense deposit disease, N00.A, with C3 glomerulonephritis, with some excludes. And then we have new code N01.A, rapidly progressive nephritic syndrome with C3 glomerulonephritis. We have acute and then rapidly progressive. And it continues with the same trend. N02.A, recurrent and persistent hematuria. And then N03.A, chronic nephrotic syndrome with C3 glomerulonephritis. Same thing. They're adding this with C3 and breaking it out with the same specificity throughout this chapter. And then we have isolated proteinuria with C3 glomerulonephritis. So same concept throughout this whole section. And then we have hereditary nephropathy, not elsewhere classified, with C3. And again, new code, N07.A, hereditary, not elsewhere classified. Now, N18. We're used to N18.3, right, for stage 3 CKD. But they've now broken out into 3 new codes. Stage 3 unspecified, stage 3A, and stage 3B. Well, if the provider knows what the GFR is, which is what they base the staging on, they should be able to get to the higher specificity of 3A versus 3B. 3A means the eGFR is between 45 and 59, and 3B is between 30 and 44. In the N61 inflammatory disorders of the breast, they've broken these out into new laterality codes as well. Unspecified breast, right, left, or bilateral. Chapter 15. 5 new codes, 1 deleted. Okay. 034.21. We have a new code for maternal care for other type scar from previous cesarean delivery. How many times have we needed that, right? And then we also have a new code for maternal care for cesarean scar defect. We have 3 new codes for other specified diseases and conditions complicating either pregnancy, childbirth, or the puerperium. So they've broken it out into 3 separate codes. Chapter 16, certain conditions originating in the perinatal period. We have 4 new codes. P91.82 category is now broken out into laterality, neonatal cerebral infarction, right side of brain, left side, bilateral, and unspecified. Chapter 17, congenital malformations, deformities, and chromosomal abnormalities. 3 revised codes, 1 deleted code. So here's the revised. They simply revised the Q51 code that said other complete doubling of uterus to complete doubling. Same thing with other partial to partial, other doubling to other and unspecified. And then they deleted Q51.20. Chapter 18. Now, this chapter is your symptoms, signs, and abnormal clinical and laboratory findings, not elsewhere. We only have 4 new codes and 2 deleted. But this chapter contains several changes. Code R51, headache, will be split into 2 codes. Let's take a look at that. Here's the new headache codes. Headache with orthostatic component not elsewhere classified, and headache unspecified. So it's just broken out those headache codes a little bit more. And then the two new codes are for elevation of levels of liver transaminase levels, your ALTs and your ASTs, and then elevation of the LDH. So again, broken it out into specificity instead of grouping them together. Chapter 19 has 128 new codes and 23 deleted codes. I am certainly not going to read all those codes to you, but I'm going to show you the trends. So first we have two new codes for contusion of front wall of thorax, broken out into bilateral front wall versus middle front wall. So a little bit of anatomical specificity here. And then they did the same thing in contusions of the back wall of the thorax, bilateral back wall, middle back wall. Same thing here in the unspecified superficial injuries, bilateral front wall, middle. Did the same thing in abrasion of front wall and the same thing in blister of front wall of thorax. Keeps continuing to external constriction, superficial foreign body, insect bites, and other superficial bites, all of the front wall of thorax, broken out into those two anatomical codes. The next section is the expansion of the poison of the T40 category, poisoning by adverse effect of and underdosing of other synthetic narcotics. They've deleted all of these codes on the left, and they've added a section T40.41, poisoning by adverse effect of and underdosing of fentanyl or fentanyl analogs, and then broken it out into the standards, codes for poisoning that we know: accidental, intentional harm, assault, undetermined, adverse effect of fentanyl, and then underdosing of fentanyl. They've added as well. Same thing here for tramadol. And then they've broken it out into adverse effect of and underdosing of other synthetic narcotics. And then corneal transplant rejection codes, they've now broken out into laterality codes: corneal transplant rejection, corneal transplant failure, as well as corneal transplant infections, complications of corneal transplant, and unspecified complications of corneal transplant. All of these sections were broken out into the laterality codes now.